Hello, Millie Fox here. I wanted to do a live tutorial for you guys because I haven't done one in a while. I want to take you all the way from the first step of unboxing the sling all the way to wearing your newborn and toddler. So here we have your sling, the way it will come right out of the box. One long piece of fabric with 2 rings sewn in to the shoulder, okay? So when you get your sling, you want to wash it first. When you wash your sling, just put a sock over the rings so that they don't bang around in the washing machine. You're just going to wash on cold and hang to dry, and the sling will dry pretty fast. So next thing you're going to do once you have it washed and dried is you are going to put it over your shoulder like this on whatever side you want to wear it. And then you're going to make sure it's not twisted around your back. And you bring the tail all the way around. So you have the front, or the end of the tail, so it's not twisted. And you're going to accordion up the fabric. Okay? And then you're going to take the rings and pull the fabric up through both rings. Open them up, and then go back down through the rings. Okay? And then once you have it like that, you're just gonna pull the fabric all the way through. And actually doing that, pulling the fabric through the rings like that, you can go back and forth like this, and that can actually start to really soften up the sling as well. But the sling will get considerably softer with 1 or 2 washes and wear, because it is linen, so it's always getting softer with wash and wear. So you're gonna pull the fabric until it's fairly tight, because you don't need a lot of fabric if you're wearing a small baby. And this is how you're gonna leave your sling in between wears. You don't need to re-thread it every single time. You just put the fabric through the rings and leave it there. Sometimes you will need to unbunch the fabric. So what you'll do is pull it up out of the rings just slightly so you can put your thumb underneath. And then you're just gonna grab the one edge. The edges are called the rails on a sling. So you're gonna finger walk through the fabric from rail to rail. Okay. So you've got your one rail out and your other rail out. Okay, and then you're just gonna make sure it's nice and spread out across your rings so that when you do go to tighten, that you know where you're tightening and that it's not all bunched up and difficult. So when you're ready and you've got everything set up, because setup is more than half of the work that you have to do, you can do a quick test to see if you've got a good amount of fabric. Sometimes you'll just need to tighten up the top rail. Sometimes you'll just need to tighten up the bottom rail if it looks like this. So you could just tighten up that top rail by pulling that top edge. So you can use your arm as sort of like a guide, because you can see your baby is fairly close to you. So you're not going to need a ton of fabric depending on the size of your baby. So I'm going to start with tummy to tummy carry, which is what you're going to use with a newborn or a baby who cannot hold up their head yet and can't sit on their own yet. So this carry is great for any size baby really, but once they are able to hold their head up and able to sit on their own, a hip carry is preferable for sure. So the starting point of the rings is going to have to be right up on top of your shoulder. And the point of this is because when we're going to tighten it, we want it to end up in corsage position. So if we start with the rings already down and we pull, we're going to end up with the rings way down here. And we don't want that. It's not going to be comfortable for you or for the baby. So we're going to start with the rings right up on top of your shoulder here. And then you're going to take your baby into a high burping position on your other shoulder. And you're gonna hold the baby with the opposite hand to the rings, okay? Next step is to come under the rings, or under the fabric, all the way through with this other hand. And you're gonna use that hand to bring both of your baby's legs into the sling, okay? Both legs go all the way through. Okay, and then we're gonna slide the baby down into the middle of your chest. One edge is gonna come up to the nape of the baby's neck. Pull that up and then continue holding with that same hand, okay? And then this bottom edge, we're gonna thread from knee all the way to knee, and it has to be right up behind both knees, okay? And then you're going to come through the baby's legs and grab that bottom rail of fabric. Again, just like unbunching it and make sure it's from knee to knee, and then you're going to pull it up in between you and the baby. And I always kind of lean forward just slightly because it helps me get in there. And you're pulling the fabric up as far as you can. And the goal here, sometimes people say to the belly button, but it's okay if you can't get it that high. The goal here is actually to make sure the baby's knees are higher up than their bum on either side. So you can see this fabric is sagging down a little bit, but we can just pull it up to make sure the baby's knee is going up higher than their bum. So we see now that the knee is up here, bum is down here, knee is up here, bum is down here. Fabric is up behind both knees. These are the two most important keys for creating a deep seat that is going to stay. Next thing you're going to do is take your thumb under the shoulder fabric and cap it over your shoulder. This is going to spread the weight out across your back, which is going to make it much more comfortable. Again, still always holding the baby with that one hand, just kind of pushing them against your body. And then if the baby is very tiny, their head is going to rest on your chest, and you're going to gather the fabric all the way up to the nape of the baby's neck and pull it sort of over towards the rings, so that when you go to tighten, it's quite easy. So the first thing we're going to tighten is the top rail. So we grab this top edge of the fabric and we start to pull. And I pull sort of in the direction of the fabric, so pulling this way. Okay, so we tighten the top edge, and then we want to go across and tighten the bottom rail. So I'll pull this edge and I pull that one straight down. So that's tightening up underneath the baby's bum and locking in that deep seated position. So the rings are a locking mechanism. They're tested up to 35 pounds for less than 1 inch of slippage. So you're not just gonna have it slip out at any point, and the baby is already pretty tight to you anyway. So, you know, that is not going to happen. But to make it as secure and safe as possible, the two keys, like I said before, are up behind both knees, and the knees have to be higher than the bum. So we're creating that deep pocket seat that's like a hammock. And when I'm at shows, I always explain to people that it's very similar to how you would be situated if you were sitting in a hammock. So if you think about it, when you're in a hammock, your bum is way down low, your knees are way up high, and then the fabric is like right up behind both of your knees, right? So all that weight is down up in your bum, and your knees are high up like this. Fabric is top behind your knees. So that is the exact same pocket situation that we're creating for the baby's bum. Okay, so this is our tummy to tummy position. We're fully set up. Sometimes I see where the baby's kind of leaning off to the side. If you want to remedy that situation, what you would do is bring the baby over onto your front, onto your center, and sometimes it just means you've got a little extra fabric over here. So you would just bring that extra fabric over towards the rings and tighten up in the according spot. So if I pull here, it's going to tighten up this area. So if we need to tighten, we have a lot of control over where we pull. Will depend on where we tighten. So once I have the baby situated here, there's a few things I can do with the tail. As you see, the white side's showing, so that's not ideal. What I do often is I just take a little bit of the fabric up through the rings, like so, and then I just turn it to make sure that the front of the tail is showing, and sort of pull it up to a desired height. And then I just kind of fan it out to make it look a little bit more pretty there. So that shortens up the length of the tail, gets it out of your way, you know, and you can see the print. You can also spin the tail around and go under the baby's bum, tuck over here. You'd want to spin it a little better than that. You can do that. You can spin it around and fold the top rail over top. This one you just have to be careful that you're keeping the baby's chin up off the baby's chest. You don't want this to be pushing the baby's head down. Okay, and then you can also spin the fabric all the way around the rings if you'd like to. That would just look like this. You can do that a few times to take up the excess fabric, but you can also just let it hang. Okay, so that's wrapping it around. I personally don't like that option because taking it off is a lot more involved. There are other tricks you can do, like I was showing you before, where you can put it up through, and then I was doing this thing where I was doing it a couple of times. Like that. So it's almost like a little braid off to the side. You can fan the tail out like that too. So that when you want to take it off, you would just take this bottom tail out and pull. It's very simple. Or if you want to let it hang, you can just simply flip it and tuck it in between the two rings. So that's a way to flip it. There, and that flips it so you can see the front of the tail. Oh, next thing we're gonna do is the hip carry. So this will be for babies who can sit on their own, hold their own head up. So to loosen up the rings, you just simply lift this top ring, well I guess it's the bottom ring technically, sitting on top of the fabric, lift it up and pull it away from the baby. So on sort of like a 45-degree angle. So if your baby were sleeping, you could just do this. Just very carefully take the fabric off. Okay, so for the hip carry, we're setting it up exactly the same way. We don't want a lot of fabric. But the difference here is where you start with the rings. So instead of starting with the rings on the top of your shoulder, you're going to start with the rings behind your shoulder. Okay? Make sure we're all straight. Want to make sure that you're not bunched up on the back. Same thing, baby's in high birthing position, hold the baby with the opposite hand to where the rings are, hand through, sweep the baby's legs in. And then for a hip carry, your baby's arms don't need to be in because they already do have that neck support and they can sit on their own. So they can actually keep their arms out. So next thing you're gonna do then, in that case, is grab this bottom edge of the fabric, pull it way up in between you and the baby, same thing that you were doing before, but this time we're gonna shift the baby over onto your hip. So we're looking for the exact same two things. Fabric needs to be right up behind the baby's knees and the knees have to be higher than the baby's butt. One leg will go behind you and one leg will go in front of you. And then we will cap the fabric over your shoulder, just hook your thumb under the shoulder fabric and pull it across. Then you're gonna tighten. So same thing, pull towards the fabric and just tighten up as necessary. Sometimes I see ladies wearing the sling and they're kind of like pulled over to the side because their baby is not close enough to them. They're like kind of tight but not tight enough, so the baby's weight is sort of like pulling them over to the side. So what you want to do is bring the baby right close to you and tighten it all the way up. Okay, and again, you want the rings to end up in corsage position, and by corsage I mean that flower thing that goes on your lapel or the corner of your dress when you go to prom or wherever else people wear corsages. You don't want the rings to end up way down here because it's just not comfortable. This starts to dig into your neck. And then you don't want them sort of like sitting on your shoulder because it can dig into your shoulder bone. You can do the same different things with the tail. And one thing I want to note about our ring slings that's different than any other ring slings on the market that I've seen is that we use a smaller size ring. So we use a 2.5-inch ring. Most companies use 3-inch size. Our fabric is quite soft and quite easy to maneuver through the rings. So as a parent, I didn't love the large size rings because I found that they were, hitting me, and the baby's head when he was small and in a carry like this were hitting the rings as well. So I chose a smaller size ring. I just thought that they were easier to manage and more comfortable. And then the other thing that sets us apart, of course, are our prints. There's no other ring sling on the market that offers a printed carrier like this, especially not in these awesome modern prints and patterns. So the reason I started the company was because I wanted moms to feel like they had options that suited their personal style and to have a way to express their personal style when maybe a lot of their clothes aren't fitting properly from pre-baby And who knows, maybe your styles change too. So that's it for our live tutorial today. If you have any questions about anything I said, just DM me. And if you want to do a live interactive tutorial, just visit the highlight in our bio and you can sign up for a live interactive tutorial where I can see you, you can see me, and I can give you pointers. So have an awesome day and thank you for watching.